On Tech News Today, Starbucks now lets you order your mocha slurpaccino from their app before you get to the store. Plus, Apple rickrolls everybody. And there's a strange and needy creature living inside the Buzzfeed Apple Watch app. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, September 22nd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay, period. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to braintreepayments.com/TNT. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa gift card when you get a loan. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgan, and our co-anchor today is After Nines and Channel ETE content czar Joe Panettieri. Hey, Joe, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, Mike, although a lot's going on. Channel ETE is very busy, but it's going great. How are you doing? How did you survive the outage?
It was brutal. So what you're talking about is that yesterday Skype was out for what, like 20 hours or some crazy thing? I don't know.
Skype was out.
It was just out, and who knows? So we muddled along. Of course, we're very Skype dependent here at Twit, and so we had to make do with using Hangouts for most of our shows, and that was a little challenging. I actually, it's kind of a weird thing, but I actually detected inferior video quality on Google Hangouts, which I'd never noticed before. It's just an anecdotal observation on my part. I can't really prove it, but it just seemed like the video quality coming in was not as good as it normally is on Skype. So who knows? I wish somebody would do a head-to-head. In fact, maybe somebody did somewhere, and we'll have to look at that. So why don't we jump right into the big news today. Microsoft Office 2016 ships today. Mashable's Lance Ulanoff is here to tell us all about it. Hey, Lance, what's going on, man?
Hey. How's it going?
It's going great. This is like a Windows Magazine reunion here. So, so you wrote that the Office label no longer applies to Microsoft Office. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's really all about the team. It's, as I was trying to explain, it's sort of Office is this closed space, somebody working on their own. And, we know the world has changed, and it changed incrementally over decades of sort of connecting to other coworkers. We used to joke about SneakerNet, and then we got real networking. Then we got the internet, and now we really are global teams. I mean, there are many places where, and many times where you work with people whom you never meet in person, but their work is mission critical. I feel like Microsoft Office 2016 recognizes that, bakes it in deeply. And so it might be time, Microsoft's doing some crazy stuff now. Maybe they would consider renaming it. So I got kind of a what I would call a controlled hands-on experience with the new suite. And it's both familiar and different in important ways. And the reason that, first of all, it's familiar is kind of an important one because Microsoft is pretty careful about this stuff. They don't change the interface of their super popular suite willy-nilly because so many people use it. So, for example, when I opened up 2016 for the first time, I was like, okay, it looks more spare. But I clicked around a little bit. Immediately, I saw the ribbons. If everybody knows what the ribbon interface is, looked completely familiar. It was totally recognizable to me. And, it's not the changes that exist are not immediately apparent. It's not like what's different. Sharing and collaboration is really what's different. There's a visible share button right on Word and Excel and PowerPoint. And if you've ever used Google Docs, if you've ever done some co-editing, you're going to feel right at home because in Microsoft Word, there's your coworker with a little label, colored label of their name and their cursor moving around at the same time as yours is. But it's more than just that. It's sort of, there's a a consistent quality to the collaboration that can happen across apps, and especially across Outlook and Word, and to a lesser extent Excel. So it's really kind of interesting to me to see Microsoft, make this big push. And there are other. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lance, I was going to ask, could you clarify for us? So you got Office 2016 launching, right? And then you have this other brand out there, Office 365. Could you clarify for our listeners and our viewers, is there a difference between the two? Are these the same exact thing? That's part one of the question. Part two of the question is, can you clarify a little bit for us in terms of the collaboration? Do we all have to be on Office 2016, or can some of us be on, a cloud version that's Office 365? What are you seeing in terms of the offerings here?
Well, I think that the 365 part is certainly a little bit more of the online experience, but it's also the subscription experience, which to me speaks a little bit more to the consumer. I'm actually an Office 365 customer, in that I use that for my family, and I could work online if I want, and the online application can sort of, especially going forward, is going to change pretty readily, and in fact, so will the desktop version. Office 2016 is more sort of the traditional applications that you can download. But if you're an Office 365 member, you can download the traditional Office applications. And going forward, they're probably going to change. And I'm not, Microsoft would really rather that you don't buy the suite as opposed to subscribe to the suite, so you're constantly getting the updates. As far as who can work together, I'm not entirely sure yet. I totally understand who can and cannot. We were talking a little bit about, because a big part of this integration, I know you guys were talking about Skype. Skype for Business is a part of this. And Skype for Business exists on Windows. The version for the Mac is coming. The versions for iOS and Android are in preview. But currently, you could have somebody on Windows Phone and Skype for Business. They could participate, but they might not. They won't have the application open to edit right there. And I don't think, but I don't know for certain whether or not someone on Office 2015 can actually participate. I would think they have to update.
Now, just to clarify, the Skype for Business part of the product that you referenced did not go down yesterday. So if you're a paid customer, you were served all day yesterday. And we're looking at getting that around here because we could really use that. And I'm told that we're actually actively working on it. Now, let's go through a few quick features, Lance. Can you talk about conversations? And can you tell us if you think this is Microsoft's answer to Slack?
I don't know. I mean, it's got a little bit of that. It's basically conversations happen within Outlook instead of email messages. You have these groups, and you have these ongoing conversations, and you have likes in them, which I think is a little bit weird. And you have a number of sort of participants, but they give you sort of places to talk about projects or ongoing group projects that happen in a kind of natural way because you're using a familiar application, Outlook, to do it. Slack is definitely not Outlook, but it's definitely about those conversations. So one of the things that you can do with sort of this group-enabled Outlook is all of the documents live on OneDrive. And when you are sharing documents, you're putting documents in these conversations. You're not moving them. You're not attaching them. Not that you can't do that. You can, especially if there's somebody outside of the group or not using the same platform. But for the group, you're basically like, it's a pointer. Now everybody has access, and permissions change for that document based on who you've included. So it's kind of a smart way, kind of no friction way of working, of doing sort of group work on these documents in, as I said, an environment that you may recognize.
Hey, Lance, what about Planner? What's going on with that?
Okay, so Planner I keep calling Project Management Lite, but it has sort of the flavor up front of a Pinterest, and then you've got these boards, and you can kind of see, it's sort of little bit of Trello, if you've ever seen that, which is a sort of a great tool. And you're actually showing the screen, which is definitely more of the project management side, because if you go into that view, the sort of the task management side, what you start to see is load balances, like who has all of these projects and who has maybe one project and maybe who has no projects. And you can see, you know, what the deliverables are, like when they're supposed to be delivered, what's the percentage of them being done. It's not anywhere near like a really heavy duty project management, but it does give you this great sort of global view of all the project and tasks that a team is trying to complete, and can maybe highlight where you're about to run into some trouble. And, you know, as Microsoft seems to have done throughout this product, they're sort of cherry picking some interface metaphors from products that they've seen around that I guess they like.
All right, well, there's so much more that we'd like to cover here, but and of course your review was pretty extensive. So everybody go to Mashable.com and read Lance's article about Office. There's a lot more to cover. There's a feature called Delve. There's something in PowerPoint called Smart Lookup, which sounds really cool. You said that the help system is completely redone, and it's very actually helpful now. So everybody go read that at Mashable.com. Unfortunately, we just don't have the time to cover something as complex as Microsoft Office 2016. But Lance, I want to thank you for coming on Tech News today. And Lance is at Mashable.com, of course, also at LanceUlanoff.com, and on Twitter at Lance Ulanoff. Once again, Lance, thanks for coming on the show.
It was my pleasure. Take care, guys.
More news coming up, but first let's talk about easy payments with Braintree Payments, one of our sponsors today. You know, if you're a mobile app developer, if you have a website, you want to sell things, you want to sell products or services, you simply have to use Braintree. There's just no... and nothing even comes close to how simple and easy and effective and powerful Braintree is. That's why huge companies like Munchery, Living Social, Hotel Tonight, Airbnb, and Uber, you know, what do those companies all have in common, by the way? Super easy payments. If you used any of them, I've used most of those, and every single one of them is so easy to use when it comes to the payment process, and that's because of Braintree. And it's easy for the companies to use as well, especially for very small startups who have aspirations to become gigantic companies. Like Uber, for example. Uber started out as a very, very small, scrappy startup with a few employees, and they used Braintree very early on in their company. And now they've scaled up to one of the most valuable unicorns in Silicon Valley. They're a decacorn, which means they're worth tens of billions of dollars. And they're still using Braintree, of course, because that's part of their secret sauce. Braintree lets you process these payments in 40-plus countries and 130 currencies. And they have libraries for 6 server-side languages and mobile SDKs for iOS and Android. They give you instant approval so you can start accepting payments in minutes, believe it or not, and fast payouts, better cash flow, buyable pins. You can learn a lot more about that on their website. I'm going to give you the URL in just a sec. But Braintree, importantly, is solving the problem of mobile cart abandonment. Lots of people go online with a mobile device. They want to buy something. They want to pay for a service. And at some point, it's very common. They get frustrated, and they end up leaving without processing the payment. Braintree keeps that from happening by making the payment process super easy and even enjoyable, so you're not going to lose people in the middle of the checkout experience. Braintree gives you a full-stack payment solution, support for all payment types your customers might want. You can start accepting PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Venmo, credit cards, and so much more, all with a single integration. This is across all platforms with superior fraud protection, customer service, and fast payouts. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/TNT. That's BraintreePayments.com, and don't forget the /TNT at the end. Starbucks updated their app today. The new iOS and Android app lets you order your latte before you even get to the store. The feature is now available in all of Starbucks' 7,400 U.S. stores after a limited previous rollout. Venessa Wong is a business reporter for Buzzfeed News and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Venessa.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. This is your first time on the show, and you are certainly welcome. Now, how many Starbucks customers actually use the Starbucks mobile app?
Starbucks has actually been really successful with its app. I think among fast food chains, it's one of the more progressive ones in terms of what they're doing in the digital space. Currently, there are about 1 in 5 Starbucks customers in the U.S. using the app. And one of the benefits for the company is that It increases loyalty. In other words, the app is linked up to rewards programs. So customers who frequent Starbucks will receive perks, and that encourages them to return. Starbucks also gets a lot of data about how consumers order, what they like, and they can push out marketing to them this way. So they're hoping that by adding this functionality of mobile order, it'll encourage more people to use the app, give them that data, boost loyalty, which is what every fast food chain wants to do.
Hey, Vanessa, we've got listeners and viewers outside of the U.S. Any clues as to when these features will arrive to them?
Outside of the U.S., it's not clear yet. Starbucks will be rolling out mobile order to some locations in Canada and the U.K. by the end of the year, but there's no schedule that they've announced yet for full rollout in those markets.
So if you could just walk us through the process. So let's say you have the app and you want to do a drink order and then pick it up. How does this whole process work from beginning to end?
Yeah, sure. So wherever you are, you just open your Starbucks app if you have it already. And there should be a new button kind of on like the upper right-hand side that says order. You kind of work your way through the menu. You pick like it shows right now your pumpkin spice latte.
How do they know?
Right. Exactly. And then it'll recommend a store close by to you using, your GPS. So you customize your drink, you confirm which store you want to pick it up in, and then when you pay, so again, this is linked to the app that, most customers, or let's say 20% of Starbucks customers are already using. It'll deduct the balance from the charge from your balance, and then you have an option to leave a tip if you want. So we'll see how this goes. I'm not sure if Starbucks customers are accustomed to tipping yet, but this is something that they're trying out, and that money will be split between the crew.
Now, a couple of years ago, I think it was, I remember reading and possibly even writing about a feature that Starbucks was testing where you could place an order in advance and they would start working on it based on your location. So you could order it an hour in advance, and then when you got within, 300 yards of the store, the order would actually go through, the baristas would make it so that it would still be fresh and hot when you got there. They're not doing that in this app, are they?
No, and that's actually one of the interesting things. So, a lot of fast food chains right now are experimenting with mobile ordering for, some of those benefits that we were discussing earlier. And they each kind of have a different way of getting the food or drink, hopefully hot, to customers. So with the Starbucks app, you kind of have to be close to the cafe because once that order comes in, the barista starts to make it for you to pick up, within, say, 3 to 7 minutes. Which, could be problematic if either you're far away or, it, for whatever reason, gets to the counter too early for you to pick it up and have it hot. And I think that was one of the more difficult features for Starbucks to work out, was how to provide their users an estimated time for pickup. There are other chains such as Panettieri where you can set a pickup time, and then others where you kind of scan your phone once you arrive at the restaurant, and at that point they fire up the food so that it arrives to you hot. So, they're all experimenting with different ways to make this work. From a few of the comments I've seen online about Starbucks app, which had rolled out last December in Portland in a very limited test run and then eventually expanded to the Pacific Northwest, it seems to have worked out pretty well. Some people were complaining that their drinks weren't hot when they arrived. But I'm guessing my assumption can only be that it worked out well enough that Starbucks felt it was ready to roll out nationally today.
Awesome. Vanessa Wong writes about coffee and other hot topics at BuzzFeed.com. You can find her on Twitter at Vanessa Wong. Vanessa, thanks for coming on Tech News Today.
Thanks a lot, guys.
The state of Michigan is suing HP over a 10-year-old project that the Silicon Valley company still hasn't completed yet, allegedly. Katherine Noyes is a senior correspondent for the IDG News Service and joins us to talk about it. Welcome, Katherine.
Thanks, Mike. Hi.
So glad you're here. Now, what is the state of Michigan accusing HP of exactly here?
Well, I think there's 3 fundamental charges, but the main ones are breach of contract and also failing to deliver. It amounts to withholding intellectual property because they're hanging on to the source code for some of the things that they built for Michigan.
Can you give us any clues? You know, was this a network they were putting in or some sort of database system or a big ERP application? What were the actual components that HP was supposed to deliver? Any clues?
Yeah, I mean, basically what Michigan calls it is this BAM project, which really is business application modernization. And
BAM.
BAM, exactly. And exactly what it amounts to is pretty much, you know, all the systems that their Secretary of State office employees use, which actually there's 131 offices using this old 1960s mainframe-based technology. And it's for things like vehicle registration, voter registration, the police use it, the courts use it. So it's a whole bunch of stuff being used by a whole lot of people within Michigan. And Michigan is pretty unhappy because those employees are still stuck using this 50-year-old technology.
They should just transform that into a museum at this point. I mean, that's like, you know,
Yeah.
from the Johnson administration. Incredible. So how common is this kind of thing where a big company like HP has a very large project like this and it just all goes south and comes unglued? In the end, they just end up suing each other. Is this common or is this pretty rare?
I would say it's not common. I wouldn't say it's unheard of, but I do think one of the complicating factors in this situation is that the original contract, which is from 2005, actually was signed by EDS, Electronic Data Systems.
Wow.
Yeah, and then 3 years later, they got acquired by HP, which is now sort of left holding this contract that they were not the ones who originally signed. So I think it's one of these things that's really dragged on so long that it's become a nightmare, kind of. I would not say this is normal, you know, even for ERP things.
Wow. Well, good luck to Michigan, and I hope it all works out for everybody. Katherine Noyes is at idg.com and on Twitter at Noyes. I think that's how you say it, Noyesk. Katherine, thanks for coming on Tech News today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, is the rumored Apple car real, or is Apple just thinking about it? An exclusive in the Wall Street Journal says they're really doing it. And not only that, they have a timetable. Apple intends to ship an electric car by 2019, and probably a self-driving car at that, just 4 years away, according to unnamed Wall Street Journal sources. The paper also says that the car project, internally codenamed Titan, currently has a staff of 600 people, and that they've already gotten permission to triple that number. You know, Joe Panettieri, I'm probably among the people who I keep having trouble believing that Apple's going to sell a car. And so this kind of news is always like, well, I guess they're really doing it. It's just mind-blowing.
Maybe the cell phone providers will give it to us at some sort of, you know, below cost offer. I don't know. You know, Mike, I have a question for you, though. In terms of if this Apple car ever arrives, do you think it's going to be your traditional get in the car and be seated the normal way? Or do you think it's more like a living room setup where you're almost facing each other and you're either working on your own on digital devices or able to interact with people? I mean, is it a car or is it not a car?
You know, Apple tends to do things that are, you know, they try to rethink user interfaces. And, you know, yes, they don't invent everything, it's true, but they do try to take a situation where people are suffering in one way or another. They did it with music players, they did it with smartphones, they did it with lots of devices. They did it with tablets. I mean, if you recall what tablets were like before the iPad, it wasn't pretty, and Apple basically schooled the industry on how to do that. They may have some very strong ideas about what a car should be like. So I just hope that it's made out of aluminum, because I can't wait for that Johnny Ive video telling us all about it. So that's just me. But anyway, looks real, and I can't wait to see it on the roads. Now, just a quick caveat. 2 things about this 2019 date. That's a ship date. That doesn't mean shipping to customers. That means, you know, basically getting to the point where they're actually manufacturing them with the customers coming later. And also, it's very unlikely that a big company like this entering a new market like this is going to hit a deadline like that. So if they say at 2019, if they're shooting for 2019, you probably won't be able to buy an Apple car till what, 2022 or something like that. So this is not just around the corner. This is going to be a while. And so yeah, don't get your hopes up too high, because this isn't going to come in 4 years. I would be stunned if they could actually pull that off. We told you last year that the torrent website, The Pirate Bay, was raided by Swedish police in Stockholm. At the time, it was reported that police confiscated Pirate Bay servers, but now Pirate Bay says its servers were never taken from that location. Instead, the police took servers belonging to Easy TV, either by accident or on purpose, we don't know, but these were housed in the same secure facility. Police did grab another server, a Pirate Bay server, at another location at around the same time, which Pirate Bay says they used for internal communication. Because they took the internal communication server, Pirate Bay decided to shut down their site as a precaution, and also to shut it down because they wanted to do some upgrades anyway. So the site was down for 2 months. Everybody assumed that there was a raid, then they were out for 2 months. Everybody assumed that was because they stole the servers, and that apparently, according to Pirate Bay, is not the case. And by the way, Pirate Bay is distributed all over the place, so they don't house their services in a single place. That's the whole point of Pirate Bay. Well, we told you Thursday that ad blockers were surging in the paid app section of the App Store. The #1 app was a $2.99 ad blocker called Peace. But the developer of that app, Marco Arment, felt bad about websites losing ad revenue from the app, so he pulled it from the App Store, and now Apple's issuing refunds to everyone who paid for it. Joe Panettieri, what a guy, huh? He felt bad that people were losing ad revenue, and so he pulled what was the #1 paid app on the App Store.
Yeah, and I didn't even have to call him to do it, so it's really great to see that come down.
Yeah, and there's a huge debate online about whether, you know, we really should be supporting people who are, you know, who are ad supported. This show is ad supported, for example. I personally believe that advertising is a superior form of monetization than charging an admission fee or subscription or something like that, simply because some people around the world can't afford, you know, if you charge $10 a month or something, there's a lot that just, you're immediately creating a digital divide for whatever content you're providing. So advertising in theory is much better. The problem is that there's a lot of abusive advertising. It's, you know, almost malware, or it is malware, or it uses too many resources and slows down the website and does all kinds of things like that. And so people are justified in using ad blockers. Still, there are lots of innocent bystanders who are just trying to make a living, put food on the table with their advertising revenue, and ad blockers punish those sites. So interesting thing. I don't think the controversy is going to subside anytime soon, but it's really interesting to see a guy turn down a lot of money for ethical reasons. Well, Quirky, remember Quirky? We've reported on them a few times. Well, they've now gone bankrupt, and they've accepted a $15 million offer for their Wink home automation hub product from Flextronics, of all companies, which is the contract manufacturer that built it. So apparently Flextronics is just going to keep on churning them out, but they will own the product themselves. Quirky said in a blog post today that they intend to sell all their assets. So this isn't just a regular Chapter 11 where they're going to restructure and regroup and then come back with a better plan. This is over. I don't know what you think about this, Joe, but this seemed like an innovative company. I didn't see this coming at all, and it's really, I think, surprising that they're cratering right now.
You know, I think we're just at the beginning of the Internet of Things reality check. And yeah, while I think a lot of IoT products, the consumery stuff, the digital hubs, I think a lot of them will survive. We do need a shakeout. So many of these companies are venture backed, and you know, a lot of them aren't profitable yet. So I guess I'm not surprised that a company went out of business. I am surprised that it was this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that exactly. All right, in mergers and acquisitions news, and also a product obituary, the 3-year-old book subscription service Oyster is shutting down. Google says that they didn't buy the company, but most of its employees, including CEO Eric Stromberg and co-founders Andrew Brown and William Van Lanker, are moving to Google to work in the Google Play Books group after Google paid the company $17 million for the right to hire some of its staff. This is a kind of a loco story here, Joe. I don't quite get it. Google swears it's not an acqui-hire, but they paid money and in order to hire employees, and so it's kind of like an acqui-hire.
Yeah, so Google, please clarify for us. Is it or is it not an acqui-hire? I don't have the answer on that one. I'm not surprised that this company went away. I'm not surprised that the talent is valued. But I just wish Google was a little bit more forthcoming each time they did a deal like this.
Yeah, and I kind of suspect that this has something to do with Amazon because, of course, it's so difficult to do anything in the book industry when you're competing against a company that's so aggressive like Amazon.com. So We'll see how this shakes out, and we'll see what these people do. For example, will they launch a subscription service on the Google Play Bookstore? So I suspect that they very well may do that. Well, we got more news in just a second. You're going to want to stick around for this. But first, let's talk about Prosper. Prosper is the Silicon Valley way to borrow money. Borrowing money is a great idea because you can pay off your high-rate credit cards. You can start a business. You can do all kinds of things. You can do a green loan, for example, and sort of take an existing business where you don't really need to fix it up or anything, but you can make it more environmentally friendly by installing solar panels or doing something like that. So many things you can do, and it's super easy. Basically, the way you do it is you just go to the site, you give some basic information about yourself, you check your rates and review your loan options, and once lenders invest in your loan, the money is deposited directly into your bank account, and then after that, monthly loan payments are fixed and will be automatically deducted from your bank account. There are no hidden fees or prepayment penalties. Your loan's interest rate will never change. This is a great way to do a loan. It's all very straightforward, transparent, out in the open. I mean, your personal data is always anonymized and totally secure, but it's super upfront. There's no funny business behind the scenes. This is the straightforward and best way to borrow money. You can check your low rate instantly without affecting your good credit. Just go to prosper.com/twit. And now, and for a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit viewers a $50 Visa gift card with your low-interest loan. You can get up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days and a $50 Visa gift card. Just go to prosper.com/twit for this special offer that's just for you, the viewers and listeners of Twit shows. Well, in news you can lose, Apple's support page for the Apple Watch contains a subtle Rickroll reference. The initials of the on-screen friend list spell, and the friends are listed as NEVERGONNAGIVEYUUP, and this spells... Joe, who knew Apple had a sense of humor? I didn't.
I'm hoping they lose it next time around, but that's okay.
All right. Well, in other Apple Watch-related news, BuzzFeed's latest app update supports the Apple Watch, and it comes with a surprising and elaborate Easter egg. When you enable Apple Watch notifications on the iPhone app, a virtual pet occasionally pops up. Like the old Tamagotchi virtual pet, the BuzzFeed pet needs to be kept happy, and you can do this by providing the pet with music, letting them sit on the couch, eating pizza and other activities. This is kind of a surprising thing. I mean, the BuzzFeed app, of course, is all about news, and I don't think this virtual pet shows up on the phone app. It's just on the watch, and it pops up notifications and basically starts whining and complaining until you give it something. Very cool, actually. I installed it this morning and it hasn't popped up yet, so I'm still waiting for the Tamagotchi thing in BuzzFeed. Well, anyway, very strange. Our TNT fan of the day is MobileDoc in Malaysia, who posted this picture on Twitter. Joe, let me show you a breakfast of champions. Check it out. TNT is part of this delicious breakfast. It's I don't know what that is, but it looks really good. Yeah, it looks very, very good. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. And use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. Joe, what the heck is happening with Channel E2E and After Nines?
Well, for those who missed the show last week, Mike, as you recall, certainly, we launched Channel E2E, which is for the IT channel, and it tracks IT service providers from entrepreneur to exit. We're having a blast building it out. The readers are coming. And just stay tuned. We're going to be announcing some new features and functions on the site incrementally over the next quarter. But everything's up, rocking and rolling, and the traffic's growing daily. So we're having a ball. All right. So I know you're off to Starbucks after that story. You are now craving your caffeine fix. So so you're off to do that. Thank you so much for co-anchoring today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much, Mike. Have a great week. All right. Take care, Joe. Let us know what's on your mind. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call us at 260-TNT-SHOW. That's 260-868-7469. You can subscribe to Tech News Today at twit.tv/TNT.
If you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, come on in and watch us as part of our studio audience like these fine folks right here. Send email to tickets@twit.tv before you come in. And you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TechNewsTodayTV. You can follow me personally at Elgan.com. Don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. This show is produced by Jason Cleanthus and edited by Kevin King. My name is Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.